Hey folks, Ray from LoveYourRV.com. Continuing our 2018-19 Snowbird adventures, found us the last week or so in New Mexico. We left the Chiricahua Mountains here. We were staying at a place called Rusty's RV Ranch. We left a few days early because the weather turned pretty rotten. It got really, really windy. In fact, up in, I think, Colorado, they had what was called a cyclone bomb. So big winds were in the forecast. So what we did is we headed back up to Interstate 10 here and moved across and up over into the Rio Grande Valley and returned to a place we had been to 2 years ago called Caballo Lake State Park, one of the New Mexico state parks. Right here along the Rio Grande, they've dammed the Rio Grande and made this reservoir. And right on the banks of the reservoir is a really, really pretty little state park. Just zoom in here. You can see it in here. There's a couple different locations. You can camp right along the river down here, or up top there's a main campground with you can get full hookups here, $14 a night, or you can invest in a state park pass, a yearly passing. I think you get it for $4 a night. We don't invest in the yearly pass because we're just not there long enough. It's $225 for a yearly pass. So anyway, where we camped is a little further up here, and it's in this area. I think it's called the Beach Flats Dry Camping Area, and it's $8 a night. And there wasn't too many people there, of course, because there was big winds on the horizon. So we got in there and got the same spot we got 2 years ago, right here on this little point. And it sits up sort of perched above the lake, and you get a really nice view across to the mountains over to the west here. Here's some really nice views. So we stayed there during the big winds and made it through no problem. I liked it because we were on the lake area here and we didn't get too much blowing dust at all, just a lot of big winds, but it made for some really dramatic skies. And then the other day we left there, and we want to go back to Arizona to visit some folks that have some private land and boondock with them. But first we wanted to make a stop in a place called Pie Town. We had been told by a guy a few weeks earlier about it. So we went up the valley here. You follow Interstate 25 up the Rio Grande Valley. Right about, where did we cross over? Went past, not as far as Albuquerque. It was Socorro, I think it's called. Yeah, right here. And we stopped there at a Walmart and got all refreshed with new groceries and stuff, and even got myself a Lotta burger. It's a New Mexico kind of a chain restaurant, make really good cheeseburgers that contain Hatch Green Chiles. Anyway, we turned and went on this Highway 60. Let's go. We headed west on 60, and it climbs quite a bit. You're down about 4,000 feet, and you're going to climb as high as 8,000 feet. So we followed it up here. And interesting to astronomer buffs, we went through what they call the Very Large Array, and that's where they have a bunch of radio telescopes all laid out in the high desert here on a big flat plateau, and they have them all lined up. I don't know how many there is, but they were all layered across the desert. And I think they combined to make a radio telescope 22 miles in diameter. We didn't bother going into the visitor center or anything, but we just drove through it on Highway 60. Our destination was a place called Pie Town. So we kept going along that big, it must have been about a 30-mile straight stretch. And then we went through some really pretty mountainous country here. Up over that and onto another plateau. Finally we found Pie Town. It's really in the middle of nowhere. You cross the Continental Divide, and they call it the top of the earth up there. But a really interesting little town. They actually have 3 different restaurants that make pie. You really do find pies there. So we'll give you some video footage that I shot along there, and also a little bit of footage of the campground we stayed in. They have a free campground, just dry camping, and it's in amongst the trees here. You can see these roads going in here, and you can go in there, and there's some little campsites. There's some picnic tables, fire rings and things you can see. it gets a little tight in between the trees there. So if you do come in with a larger rig, you might want to park out on the road and just take a walk in and see where you might like to camp. It all goes all through the different trees here. There's lots of different roads in and out. So let's get to the footage of our Pie Town adventure. So folks, we've landed in Pie Town, New Mexico, and we're camped at this Jackson Park and campground, and it's free. Dry camping, just in amongst the trees here. I'll show you how close it is to the road. Going along here is New Mexico Highway 60, going through Pie Town. It's not even really a town, I'd call it maybe a little village. You can see the access is pretty easy coming in here. Now we're coming in here just after there's been a snowfall, so things are a little mushy, but the ground actually compresses and it doesn't sink too bad. Just walk you down here to where we've camped. Basically these roads kind of weave all in and out of the trees. If you could see from the satellite view that I showed you. Now this was a little tight coming through here. Not very big branches, but I'm pretty sure I rubbed a bit on the old cougar coming through this treed part here. I didn't have to go very far. Oh, you can see there's still remnants of the snowfall from a few days ago. It's warming up a bit now. Maybe got up to about 55 degrees. Not warm. We're up around 8,000 feet here. We're not very far from you pass the Continental Divide. So here's the little campsite we chose. Not too bad, not too bad. For free, you can't complain at all. Sun's come out, low wind, which is nice, so should have a nice night tonight. It's really quiet and peaceful here. I think we're the only campers in the whole area right now. So there we are. Just nudged it right in there. Pulled ahead here, you can see my tire tracks. But I didn't have to put it into four-wheel drive or anything. Like I say, the ground looks kind of mushy, but it gets pretty solid. But anyway, just thought I'd show you before the sun goes down here. We're just going to stay one night. We're going to meet some friends over in Arizona, but Anne wanted to stop at Pie Town. She loves pies. She already got a blueberry butterscotch pie and some kind of coconut pie. So tomorrow we're going to get up and go and get some more pies. And also the cafe looks like it has some good breakfast. So once we get up, I'll bring the video camera and give you a kind of a look at the Pie Town. There's not really a whole lot to show other than a few establishments. Pioneer and the Pie Town Cafe, and I think the other one is the Wandering something. Anyway, stay tuned. Got to go back in, get some pie. Okay, so that's where we're camped in these trees over here. I just pulled out of there this morning, went and had some breakfast, picked up a few more pies. Let's give you a little view. It's not a very big town, just a little strip. There's sort of three establishments here that sell pies. This is the Pioneer in Pie Town, New Mexico. It's a seasonal place. I think it's only open in the summer months. It's closed right now. Cool old building. Really pretty country up here, right up on the Continental Divide. Showed you in the dash cam footage when we drove through the Large Array Telescope, which is a bunch of radio telescopes, and they combined to make, I think it's a 22-mile telescope, radio telescope. There's a visitor center in that. We didn't stop there. We were trying to get to Pie Town. But yeah, a really pretty drive. Across Highway 60 from New Mexico and into Arizona. And we'll just walk down to where we had breakfast. It's called the Gatherin Place. And they make little 6-inch pies, all kinds of different flavors. I picked up a New Mexico apple pie, which means it's got it's an apple pie, but they've put in Hatch Green Chile into it, so a little bit of sweet and spicy. Looks like they have a pie festival September 14th. Nice morning today. A little chilly being up so high in elevation, but good to see the sunshine. Big puffy clouds. Should be a nice drive. We're going down into Arizona, near St. John's, Arizona, and Sholo, and going to camp on a friend's land, do some boondocking over there. So plenty of room to pull over with a big RV here. Ground's really firm too. Here we are, Gatherin Place. So they had all kinds of, it's like a little country cafe. I'll flash up the menu. I took a little picture of the menu in there. And there's one more place down there, and check it out. It's the Pie Town Cafe. And it also has some pies. Neat little place. Till next time, Ray from LoveYouRV.com. Cheers, everyone.